How's it going?
So good. I'm really glad to talk. It's been a long time.
It has. How you doing?
How are we doing, Jared?
I'm not gonna lie. I may have a basketball game on the background.
You do. A Michigan game. Is Michigan winning?
I'm not even watching that one, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not gonna be distracted by any means. But if you see me peering off to the side, or if you hear me, if you hear someone hit a three and I go,
press.
that's probably why. But I'm in. I'm here.
That's awesome.
I'm excited. Isaac, I swear we haven't seen you since the archery shoot we did.
Yeah, man, that was fun. That was a good time.
Well, that's good.
We're doing it again. You coming back?
When is it?
Bigger and better, actually.
TBD. Yeah, we're gonna do bigger and better. You know, we've not talked about this in the podcast, but now that we say it publicly, we're locked in. We're gonna try to get a couple of the local area places, archery places, to come together, combine forces into one super shoot. And we were looking at going to one of like a local ski resort right in town, and get some targets set up, get some like beer and food, and because they can serve beer there, and kind of do like a two-day thing, and kind of do it doubling up or tripling up. Or the last time we had a couple hundred people show up.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
it was a great shoot.
I want to have more of an audience, because
I got stuck at the booth the whole time.
Yeah,
I was there so long.
There's a lot of people that want to go and do the total archery challenge, and it's the same thing, I guess, what we're doing, or I guess we're doing the same thing that they're doing, but it's only one.
They're doing what we're doing.
It's only one weekend, right? So like not a lot of people, like, that's something they got to plan around. So if there was a second chance to do another one, we think that'd be because I enjoy going up there and shooting the different courses. It's a lot of fun. And
sure.
A lot of things. I mean, the crazy thing is when you're walking through and doing one of those things, the amount of arrows that people just
scuttle,
or scuttle, or just hit trees. Like, I remember a target that it literally was just peppered with arrows behind it. Because if you miss the target high, like, it's tree. There's no way around it. It's just a tree.
Yeah.
And just the amount of buckets of arrows just.
That's music to Isaac's ears. That's
like
he hears
an
like
Aerosmith's "Wet Dream," pretty much.
That's right.
What's up? We are going to thank a few of these sponsors that help make this beautiful show a reality for all of you. So here we go. So a big reason, I would say, to why we're so successful and we have so many bucks on the wall is because we use HuntWise. HuntWise is a GPS mapping app that you can download on any phone, any platform. You can look up public land huntings, ORV trails. You can get the weather. They actually have a HuntCast 2.0 that they teamed up with Jeff Sturgis to make. It's awesome. You need to check this thing out. Go to HuntWise, download the app.
I feel like if you go into the woods without optics, it's like going into the woods without pants on. Would you agree with that?
To a point.
We are huge fans of running binoculars, spotting scopes, and different things when we hunt, even whitetail. I bring binoculars out every time I go. We choose Vortex Optics because they make the best glass in the business. They have an amazing warranty, super clear glass, super helpful people that work there.
Also, if you want to rep some sweet Vortex swag like this warm shirt on a nice fall day, head over to Vortex Wear. Thank you. And use the promo code TFC20 for 20% off your purchase. Saddle game, you need to be in it. If you haven't been in it yet, then you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah.
Trophy Line Tree Sales makes some of the best saddles in the industry. They have 3 different platforms that we use and that are awesome.
I want to make a quick plug for the Wingman with a couple steps. You can take one less stick, and it's like a combination of a stick and a platform. I've been exclusively hunting out of it this year, and my mobile setup is so sweet. I'm very proud of it.
Awesome.
I highly recommend the Wingman system.
If you're ready to pull the trigger on that and you want to get with James and do the Wingman, head over to their website and you can save yourself 10% on the purchase. TFC10 will get you that. I like to think I single-handedly got James to switch to compound again, but I'd probably be a liar and everyone would call me out on that. We shoot prime bows. We think they're awesome. Great accuracy, super shootable.
Made here in Michigan.
Made in Michigan, so we love that. It's hard to complain.
That's where Jared was made. So
surprisingly,
we like that. Yeah.
You're welcome. So go check out these prime bows.
We are of a firm belief that the arrow is the lifeblood of the archery industry. We've said it 1,000 times. But But in all seriousness, we are huge fans of arrows that are durable, that fly well, and that kind of make up for some of my inaccuracies in the way that I shoot. So we shoot Vector custom arrows.
The hammer.
The hammer.
That's Thor. That's Thor's in there.
They are made in Wisconsin by our buddy Isaac. Great arrows. And if you want to go and get yourself some, have a little bit of a discount, use TFC10 for 10% off. Or call Isaac up and tell him we sent you.
Mm-hmm. You want his phone number? Comment below.
Yep, comment below.
That's right. So, how's the arrow business? How's business in the arrow industry? The lifeblood of
It's
the
good.
archery industry, that is.
Man, it's so much fun. I mean, it's been crazy just doing this for 2 years now, and all the people we've met and all the stories we've heard and all the, happy customers that have been able to improve their game by, just allowing us to put some effort into their setup for them, basically. Like, it's been really cool, man. It's been a blast. Like, and this year, like, I really feel like the best is yet to come. And it's growing very, very fast. It's kind of nuts. So
That's awesome.
You're like,
yeah. And I think that, that niche was kind of overdue for some innovation and just something fresh. So people are just kind of primed for it,
I was surprised that no one had. I remember when we first talked, I was very surprised no one had done what you were doing, which is simply
I still
just
feel that
go
way.
online, Like,
Yeah. I mean, that's how the whole idea started. It was like, I was building my own arrows, and I would use like software like Pinwheel or Archer's Advantage, and would punch in all these stats on like my bow, my brace height, ATA, draw length, draw weight, point weight, insert weight, and then I'd pick just the perfect spine arrow, whatever, figure out to the eighth of an inch, how long I need to cut my arrow so that dynamic spine measurement is just perfect. And it just, the whole idea came from that experience and just wishing I could hit buy now, and somebody else just build it and then mail it to me and it's done. Like, because it used to be, and it still kind of is for traditional, as you know, James.
Yeah.
That it's like there's a lot of trial and error setting up
dicking
arrows.
around. Yeah.
Yep. You gotta mess with it to get it to the right length to tune out well and stuff. And with modern compounds, you can do all that in the computer, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. So we had a lot of new customers last year, and only I think we only refunded a few people because they couldn't tune, but the official stat was 1 in 2,000 customers
Really?
can't figure out how to get these arrows flying really well.
Odds are the guy that's
Total
guy.
idiots.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not gonna beat the math,
Like, no, the customer service stories are hilarious sometimes. Sorry, I shouldn't say total idiot. It's I love you all.
Don't be an idiot. There's enough research out there. Just Google it and figure out what's going on. Don't be an idiot.
Yeah, it's like Joe Rogan says all the time, like, the odds are if you're in the room with 100 people, one of them's a total complete idiot.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's true, but
James has that in every room he goes in, though.
It's weird. Every room I go in, there's always an idiot there. I don't know how that. Yeah.
I feel that way around here lately. 'Cause we've been able to bring some incredibly smart people on our team, but I was gonna say, some of the stories coming in from just people who need support are so funny. Like, we've had people who the shop like literally tied on their drop away rest to the wrong limb.
Oh,
Like things like that. Like, I just can't, I shoot and I shoot and I shoot. I can't get them to fly good, and it just rips my veins off. It's like,
it's because
just
it's not
send us a
dropping.
picture. Just send us a picture. Yeah, something's not working. Or one guy sent a picture of we had ruled everything out, over email, talked to him on the phone, like, send us a video of you shooting your bow. and his bow hand was in a cast.
Oh, he had a cast in his hand?
Yeah, man. Like, maybe wait till you get your cast off and then let's set up your bow.
That's so funny.
Hey, you want to talk about a strong wrist, though? You're
Uh-huh.
not getting any wrist torque with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
you're locked.
I mean, it was making it way worse, probably.
What I would say if I broke my wrist, I would have the doctor set it in that perfect,
Ooh.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Be like, hey, I need you to set it just so my bow hand's kind of out like this. I'd look like a dork walking around with my wrist back like that. You know, I feel like it'd be all cramped up in here, but it'd be worth it, dude. I'd be consistent.
Yeah. Or you could just get good at shooting archery.
Yeah. You know what? That's out the window by now.
Oh man.
Always.
Yeah, you're a good shooter. Are you shooting much compound these days or still
Mostly compound lately.
Mostly.
honestly?
Well,
giving up that.
I'm doing turkey, and I'm not taking the recurve out. I was gonna do a shotgun, but I decided to go with a compound with the prime.
Sure.
So I've been messing around with that, and we've been shooting these red line sights. So I've been just messing around with that lately. And then later on in the year, I'm doing in August caribou, and I'm not taking the recurve for that. So yeah, I'm gonna go do the Hall Road hunt. You know, you drive up, yeah. So those are long shots, and you know, with the recurve, I'd be aiming high and playing the wind, and
Yeah. No kidding.
that has not served me well when I've tried to do that.
I haven't seen really anybody get close like on YouTube or anything like that
No.
up there. Like if you're lucky, 70, 80 yards, right? That's a poke.
It's a poke.
You need our new arrow for that trip.
I do. I really need your new arrow. Well, tell me about them. I don't know anything about it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean it's just like the hammer but lighter.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you go on vectorarrows.com, you can build it still. Like it won't tell you all the specs, but it'll tell you what it'll weigh for your setup. And now it's got bow manufacturer and model in there too. So it's a little bit.
Oh, so I just throw all that in there and just spits out.
Just throw it in there. It spits out what your total arrow weight is. So like for my setup, 27.5 inches, 65 pounds, 125 grain tip. The hammer's like 580 grains and the ZMR is like 460.
Okay.
So,
I like the hammers, but you know, for that, my sight tape is wide for some of that, and sometimes that jams you up a little bit.
I mean, that's the whole idea was just took a lot of feedback from a lot of customers and, you know, asked a bunch of them, you know, how would you improve it? How would you add to the catalog or whatever? And people who love the hammer would still say, we want the hammer, but lighter. So the HMR, I call it the hammer, but it's the HMR, but
yeah, I think of it a hammer.
Why are people, because you always see, I guess the trendy way of going is just a heavier arrow. Why do people want a lighter arrow?
I mean, it's the sight tape. It's the gaps between your pens and just a flatter shooting arrow so that, you know, essentially if like after doing very minimal Western hunting myself, it's like, you know, I like to shoot the 2-pin spot hog. It's like you range it, you know, 62 yards and you dial it in to 62 and then you draw, and then that elk's taken like 7 steps in that time, right? Like, so I'm thinking about, you know, on top of everything else and all the adrenaline, it's like, how far am I holding over? Am I doing this right? It's like, that's just less with a light arrow, you know?
Yeah.
And even though a heavy arrow will go through anything, it's like still better to hit the right spot. So,
well, and for that single pin, we just talked about this. Like, what I like about single pin, even just in the eastern woods, is you set it to 30, right? And you just go out there and you don't have to change how much higher or lower as much with a lighter arrow. And it's not like, I mean, 400 grades is not light. It's not like in the you know, mid 2000s or whatever, when like this fast, those little pencil light arrows.
Yeah, for sure.
Lighter helps.
Yeah, it's still a heavy arrow relatively. Like most people probably still shoot like 400, 420, 430.
Yeah.
but like 460 with 14%, 15% FOC. It's like that's a dream to shoot. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
With a super sharp quality head, like you're probably fine.
Interesting.
So,
I don't know. I'm looking at broadheads right now. I don't know what I'm going to shoot. I shot expandable last year. What should I be shooting this year?
We made some. It's a work in progress. Want them to be perfect, obviously. I don't know. Is that what are you asking?
I was a leading question. I know exactly what you're going to tell me. And for everybody, I'm not that dumb.
That was the lob. That was the softball.
It was a lob. I was like, hey,
definitely shoot the vector broadhead.
Segue.
So, yeah. So it's a titanium ferrule that holds a main blade and a secondary blade, similar to a bleeder, but maybe bigger than the bleeders that you're used to seeing in 2-blade broadheads. But there's going to be 3 or 4 main blade options and 2 or 3 secondary blade options.
What are the options? What does that look like?
Like it's just cutting diameter. So like the legal minimum cutting diameter in most states, or in many states at least, is 7/8 of an inch. So like that's the smallest cutter.
Those little muzzies, was it the muzzies? Those little guys.
Go-car or something.
Yeah.
I think Go-car is an inch, but 7/8, it's just under an inch. Oh man, that's gonna be annoying. Can you hear that?
Not anymore.
Okay, good.
Like running water.
That's the heater in the shop. And so 7/8 inch and 1/8, a little bit bigger. And then the biggest one is going to be 1 inch and 7/16, which is like basically 1.5 inches. It's
sweet.
huge.
Yeah. What are you shooting?
Probably the middle one, like 1 1/8 inches. It's not a ton of surface area on the head. It'll be really forgiving in flight and not be a sail in the wind. But yeah, probably the bigger one for whitetail, because I've never shot a whitetail past like 22 yards or something.
Right.
So I mean, it's gonna be fun. All hardened tool steel blades. We're gonna try to keep the price just hilariously competitive.
Right.
They'll come super sharp, and you can. The hope is to be able to create a similar digital experience to the arrows, where you can kind of punch in what you want, starting with weight 100, 125, 150, and then you pick your main blade diameter, cutting diameter, pick your secondary blade cutting diameter, and it just comes assembled the way you want it, and replacement blades will be affordable. So
can you take all this information and also give me a sight tape? That'd be handy. I feel like that's pretty much, you have all the info, right?
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you everything I've never said it in public, I guess.
Yeah,
because it's just us here.
Okay, yeah.
So that's like the dream for events, is to be able to, in the tent at a total archery challenge type thing. We don't go to total archery challenge, but at any event like that, where we could not only sell arrows but build them to your specs on the spot, and then have you sight in at 20 and then shoot through a chronograph and print a sight tape. And then boom, you could hit the course with new arrows that are a lot harder to break if you hit a tree.
They are really hard to break. I've never broken one. Never.
I've never broken
really
one.
I shot into, what did I shoot into? I shot into a brick wall. I shot into a brick wall, and I was messing with, what was I doing? Sighting in my bow, I think. So I moved into a condo, and nearby is this old school that's like abandoned that they're going to turn into more, right? So I got the combination. I posted this on our story on Instagram a couple weeks ago, but like I'll go shoot in there, and
what, inside
this
creepy.
old school.
It looks like a haunted house in there.
It's like if you played a horror
Doom
video game. like Doom. I called them pinkies. There's these guys in Doom. If you ever played the game, they had like legs, but not really arms, and they'd always come out of nowhere. Like pinkies would be jumping out at you. Anyway, so I was doing that. Like I glanced it off the top of a target. I just had to throw my sight on, and I was just messing around, and it hit a wall, and I'm like, well, that arrow's gone. I grab it, and like it jacked up the tip, and actually the is this the sleeve or whatever it's called, that kind of got bowled out, but everything, like I could take it off. The arrow is fine, so I'm still good. It's the hammer,
Mm-hmm.
Man, I mean, I can't think off the top of my head of a single story where somebody was like, I broke this. Even like the lighter spines, even like a 350 spine in a normal use case scenario, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe if you shoot like a giant hog or something and it like sticking out and it rolls over it.
Right.
Like, sure, it breaks. Like what's not going to break,
Mm-hmm.
But nobody breaks them in normal use case. Like there's a guy, one of our customers is like counting up how many deer he can kill with one arrow without breaking parts. He's at like 11 or something.
You know what? I take it back. I did break one arrow.
Dude.
I shot a bear in a tree.
Oh, I remember that.
And it fell out and broke the arrow. It fell on the arrow. It was like that bear, Jared was there. And I'm not getting into the whole shooting a bear out of a tree with hounds. Like, I'm not going to get into the ethics. I think it's legit. Deal with it if you don't.
It's awesome.
It was totally awesome. So it fell, and as it fell, like it just slammed on a rock, and it broke it. But that's it. That was the only one. So I feel like that's unique.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's acceptable. It's like, okay.
You could be okay with that. You can sleep at night knowing that.
You can deal with that. Yep.
That's fair.
Were you just, did I see you were just out in Texas shooting hogs?
Oh yeah, man. So much fun. Honestly, I work so hard in the fall because that's when we're selling so many arrows that it's pretty hard to get out and hunt. So I had my time in Montana, I think, for 10 days chasing elk, and then just barely whitetail hunted at all. So was itching to, by, early March, go kill something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, yep, got down to Texas. We have a friend down there who manages a ranch, and the pigs are just a huge problem. And so we can go down there and help them out and kill stuff. And yeah, it was super fun. I mean, it was also my first time hunting anything over bait, which sounds weird at this point, but I had never.
Isn't Wisconsin, like, you guys bait all the time out there? I thought.
No, just for bears.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you bait in Michigan?
I don't think so. Can we bait
in certain areas? You're still allowed to.
Are you? We call it though that gold. What do they call it? The Josh Hill. What does he call it? Golden acorns. Golden acorns.
Yeah,
that's funny.
No pile of golden acorns out there. Bubby.
Hey, Bubby.
He's the man. If you guys don't know who Josh is, go check out the Untamed.
Yeah, they're
that Josh. He's super cool. Super cool.
You want to see someone get fired up over something? I've never
anything really. Hey, buddy, and he takes you right behind the shoulders and he rubs you right here. He's like, and the whole time you're like, Hey, Bubby. We went out once with him, and he had me. We were literally in a restaurant, and at one point he had me in a headlock, telling me a joke.
Yep.
And like he's yelling, and everybody's up, like it's raucous, and like all of a sudden I'm like, is this dude giving me a headlock in the middle of a restaurant?
Hey, you deserved it. You deserved it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah. So you went out. Were you testing you said there's ZMRs? Is that what they're called?
Yeah. Yeah.
Zammers.
The Zoomers. No.
Zoomers. I like that.
So many nicknames that just don't fit, I guess. But no, there's the HMR is the heavy one, and the ZMR is the light one.
I'm calling those Zoomers. I like that.
That's fine. Whatever.
Is that right?
It was an accident, but it's kind of sticking. Unfortunate. Yeah. That everyone's now asking for a BMR, so it can be called a boomer.
I like that.
Yeah, maybe that one's aluminum.
I like that.
But I don't know. Yeah, it's super fun. I mean, I guess I've only really shot like heavy arrows for the last 5-6 years. So I kind of needed to see for myself and like convince myself again. Like, and this has been over the last maybe year and a half, going lighter and lighter to where it's like, okay, it's still working. It's still doing exactly what I want it to do. And which is just completely blow through it without concern of if I hit, a minor bone or the edge of a major bone, like it's fine. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Like that's kind of what I'm looking for, I guess, which is a preference. And people are plenty effective with all kinds of arrows. So
dude, I used to shoot those Carbon Express light ones.
Yeah.
Man, I can't even, like, looking back how light those arrows were. I shot a lot of deer with them,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I lost a lot of deer. Yeah, and I missed a lot of deer, but I shot a lot of deer too.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think a lot of people just don't realize that what they love about heavy arrows is that they're durable. And if something breaks, it's a bone instead of an arrow. But like with the really light, cheap stuff, like you're just gonna completely shatter the arrow because with all that energy, and you stack it up against even sometimes a minor bone, it's like, what's gonna win? It's like the cheap, light, crappy arrow is gonna lose, every time, especially with. And there's a lot of better heads out there now where it's like if you put an iron will on a super light arrow, it's like probably going to cover you,
Right.
It's going to help you out in that situation. But it's like, that stuff hasn't been around forever. And I don't know. The durability is, easier to come by with a heavy arrow because you can just pack more mass on components and beef them up. But making components that are super durable but also light is really challenging. And that's why we wanted to put the ZMR out in November, but it's going to be like mid-April, I think, because of that. It's like it's still just not there. It's still not as durable as we want it to be for as light as it is. So really challenging, learning a lot about just the materials and all that stuff, which thankfully now we've been able to have an engineer and a team basically that's kind of heading that up, and that's super cool. That I don't have all the answers on it because I'm not as directly a part of it anymore, but they're just so smart. They're, dialing in heat treatment and cryo treatment on steels and like learning all, I'm learning, these guys have known it forever, but learning all about titanium and, grades of materials and stuff. And we've kind of played with all of it. And so
a lot goes into this. This isn't just like you throw a carbon tube out there. It's like thought goes into it.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm kind of, this sounds so dumb, but I'm just realizing like how cool it is that we had the hammer kind of dropped in our lap. It was kind of a happy accident. Like, like I liked the carbon because I could get it inexpensively without knowing that it's inexpensive because it was thought to be a very undesirable carbon for an arrow. And so I started tinkering with it from that angle, just like for 2 years before starting Vector, just playing with it, seeing if I could, make something that was a micro that wouldn't shatter. But it's a very low modulus carbon, which means that to achieve the same stiffness rating or spine rating, you're going to have a lot more material on the shaft.
Got it.
So that's where the thick wall comes from. And that's where the weight comes from. It's a higher GPI or grains per inch shaft. So, but what came with that as a result was like so much forgiveness. They're like, we talk about forgiveness in a bow, in, a size bow to your, ratio to bore size, things like that. Like you can build a more forgiving or way more forgiving arrow too. And that low modulus carbon with a thick wall is just the most forgiving shaft. I mean, that we can find still. It's very interesting. And its ability to retain the energy you put into it is pretty profound.
Does it lose it by flexing when it hits something, or how does it lose it?
I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can waste energy in a bow setup. I mean, even things like sound, like if your bow is really loud, that's a waste of energy. Or like the obvious stuff, like too much drag, too much vane.
Are we getting into physics right now?
Yeah, dude. Jared just failed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm about at my limit, honestly.
No, that's interesting because we had talked last year. I had this drop away rest. I won't name where it's from, but I had a hard time. I had a hard time with it. It wasn't dropping fast enough.
Yeah.
And I got a new one order, or they sent me another one, and I tightened it, brought it in, did all the thing. I tried to do it myself, then I brought it in, and it was like, well, you just kind of have to like deal with it. So like for a period of time last year, I was not having, like, you talk about like efficiency. Like my arrow was not efficient, and it was not flying. I could see it in the air as ever since I've shot traditional, I shoot with both eyes open, so you can kind of see the arrow better in the air, and I could see it. It wasn't right, but I couldn't get it right. And by that time, it was like middle of the season when I've kind of started working through this and figured out like this is the problem. And you had actually helped me quite a bit with that. You're like, all right, check the veins. Oh, you might need to get smaller veins,
just to help clear that rest.
Such a pain.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the other part of really keeping all the energy in the arrow is, I mean, perfect arrow flight is ideal. Like, and that's really what the calculator on our site is aiming for, is if you have perfect dynamic spine and like a reasonable amount of FOC, it's just gonna, I mean, make a huge difference downrange, like just kind of blows through stuff. So
no, that's, and you mentioned before, like the other critical part is broadhead, right? Like cut on contact broadhead when you're shooting into bone, as opposed to mechanical, which last year I used mechanical and I did fine, right?
Yeah, I mean, I want to make a mechanical. I think that'd be super cool.
Yeah.
They've gotten so much better.
They have.
Again, it's like, especially the G5 stuff. You guys were shooting the Mega Meat.
Was it the Mega? I gave, what did you
Mega
Meat or Mega Meat?
Yeah.
They're freaking awesome. Yeah. They're such good heads. I mean, there's some really crappy and problematic expandable heads out there, and I mean,
I've used those kinds too in the past. Jared, you had one blow up in the air, and you missed a big, in Virginia?
Yeah, I was stationed out in Quantico, and I had a nice 8-point right in front of me. I drew back, and he's 20 yards broadside, picture perfect. Put it right behind the shoulder, let it rip. And how do I describe it without giving it away? I don't care. The band on it broke mid-flight, so one of the blades flew out and kind of acted like a little bit of a drag.
Just curved it.
Swamp.
Yeah. Shoot.
Pretty much gave it a slap in the face with the fletchings. Beat it.
That's tough. Yeah, I mean that's what happens, eh?
That is, that does happen.
Nice.
But what they
you
say,
should have checked your rubber band, dude. That was on you. Get a better rubber band.
If I have to check that, then that's a fault on the product.
Yeah, you don't have time.
I shouldn't have to worry about banding blades.
Yeah, I think they've gotten so much better. It's like, and especially the G5 ones. I mean, I was kind of a doubter up until maybe like 2 years ago, and then we kind of started keeping tabs on like feedback from customers, and there was a lot of horror stories from like just the general mechanical users.
Rage. Can we say rage? It's our
You can
podcast.
say
We'll say
rage.
whatever we want. Sometimes when
Yeah,
you try to put
there's
a
a lot of
rage,
bad stories. Yeah,
yeah, the rage
But-
in the cage.
Rage in the Cage. Yeah, when we I've heard some heavy arrow enthusiasts say I'd rather put a boulder in the shoulder. But those G5s are sweet.
They are, but I will say I want to move toward the fixed blade. I like the idea of it. I like you can shoot it more than once. Although some of the G5s I've actually shot. I shot a deer. I recovered the arrow or the broadhead. It works fine. Sure. But I like the idea of just cut on contact, less dicking around. Like it's just
yeah.
You don't have to worry about anything. You just pull it out, you shoot, you sharpen it if you need to, and you're good.
Yeah, and even I guess this whole hunting season, a lot of the times I was walking around with an arrow knocked, and with these expandables, you're moving through brush.
Oh, I set mine off so much.
You set them off, and like they're now, one blade is out of it, and you gotta connect it back. And
you know what, Jared? I think of a time, a specific instance. You and I, it was a beautiful, like early November, hard snow, rain. We were at that Hat property.
Oh yeah,
we were just stalking around, right? We almost got that buck at the very end. But we were kind of working through these cattails and kind of splitting up, and it was just like a Hail Mary at the end of a morning hunt. And I mean, you're walking around and you're kind of real slow in this bedding area that's on this public land, and just thinking, maybe we'll get into something. It was real windy, real rainy. And sure enough, we did. But along the way, I kept hooking my broadhead on stupid cattails, and you'd see one of the three like, oh, it's out. It's like, crap, you got to put it back in and try not to cut your finger open, which you always do,
Horrifies me. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's pros and cons. I don't think there's that many cons, honestly. Like there's a bunch of really large cut fixed heads that fly super good, and people are so afraid of fixed heads not flying well, and it really doesn't take that much.
What do you do? That's the big fear. Like how do you fix that?
So I believe that 90% of it is just putting your bow in spec, making sure your rest is the right measurement per your manufacturer's requirements from the riser. They give you a measurement, in inches down to the eighth. And so put your bow in spec, make sure ATA and the brace height is on point, which it is astonishing. Like if I went to a 3D event once, and these guys were talking about how bad fixed blades fly, and we just like measured a couple of their bows, and they're just way off, and it was like, well, that's why.
Yeah,
it's not terribly hard. So you have to give your bow some attention, and then you have to have a properly spined arrow that is, with the modern tools that are available to you, you can calculate that on the internet. Like Pinwheel is free for 10 days. Like there's no reason to not go download Pinwheel and tinker with it, whether you're going to shoot vector arrows or not. Like you literally can just pull up several dozen arrow brands and build a hypothetical arrow for your bow setup. Like it's pretty powerful.
I've never done Pinwheel. I've done the Archer's Advantage I've looked at. I don't know that I've never used it. Pinwheel, does it do the sight tape and everything, that kind of thing?
Yeah, you can do the sight tape on it.
Cool.
I've never done that one with Pinwheel. I've done sight tapes and Archer's Advantage, but
I feel like I'm lazy if I do it. Like just go out there, sight your bow in at 60, be a man. But it's at the same time, if I could just print it out, it'd be really
well, you
really
can't
nice.
60 yards, man.
It takes a while. It's a pain. It's a good place where we were shooting this summer. They had those targets that were like huge. That's where I sighted in at 60 last year. I drove out. Yeah,
100%. Man, I lost so many arrows a few days ago. Me and one of the vector guys were just like goofing around, long distance, whatever. And it's just, I don't know what kind of false confidence shooting at 60 yards to get my tape built gave me. I lost like 3 arrows. That's so
know what? Whenever I shoot with a buddy, Jared especially, you start out reasonable. We're shooting reasonable shots. We're doing the thing. At the end of it, it's always like, hey, man, see that thing? Let's drop this back. Let's do 120.
Warmed up, man.
Let's see what 120 looks like. All right, 120, you hit the target. Let's move it to 160. All right, now you have to aim at the sun, and you're going to lose your arrow every time.
Yeah. Who loses their arrow less, though? That's the competition, right?
I would say, I don't think I lose very many arrows, do I?
I don't know. I still have quite a bit of arrows.
Jared is arrow rich. He is.
Man, that's awesome.
Sheesh.
Pretty sweet.
Well, you're gonna need to try the new ones soon.
Yeah, when they're ready, I need a zoomer. I love it. I love it. That's a great.
Yeah. So the Z, we kind of, it was kind of an accident, and then it's just what we called it internally for like 8 months. And so we can't change it. We can't bring ourselves to change it. But the ZMR, we kind of stuck with the HMR naming convention.
Yeah.
But Z is a nickname for one of our mentors. So like all through his military career, his nickname was Z. And so it's kind of a nod to him. His name's David Williams, and he's a physicist, and he's got a whole bunch of degrees, and very, very, very smart guy. And he kind of, mentored me. And as we started building a team here, he's been really a key part of helping, guiding us, helping us not make really dumb decisions. So it's kind of a nod to Dave. So he's getting a little up there in the years. And so I don't know. He's done a lot for archery. He's been a coach for youth, like Joad Junior Olympic and things like that for forever. So
I knew a Z in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Did you?
His name was Z, but he was not
Zimmer.
He was not a physicist.
Did I meet him?
Zindler.
Yeah, Zindler.
Yeah, Zindler.
That's the name. Dude, the funniest thing, I don't know if I ever said this in the podcast or not. So Jared's getting married, right? And so all his Marine buddies come in, and these were dudes that like spent a lot of time in where were you in Japan? Okinawa. Just working out and drinking, right? So they come over to this the night before, which we got weird that night. That was a weird night. We got weird. But one of the cool things about the night is I'm walking around and it's me, Jared, Dan, another guy we went to high school with, and these Marine dudes. Yeah. And they're like 6'4", 240. You know what I'm saying? Like, just
I was a smaller.
The whole time I kept telling him, like, you know what I feel like right now? I could pick a fight with anybody and just be fine. I could say whatever I want, run my mouth as much as I want without any repercussions. Because not only are these dudes big, but they're trained in the art of war, right? And so that was like my one chance. And you know what? I didn't even pick one shot,
fight. Dude. You messed it up.
Jared was like the pipsqueak of the group. Yeah. Not to like say that you're a small dude, but they were big.
When we were at the gym, they had to take plates off for me.
You hate that.
It sucked.
That happens.
I can relate with that. Yeah,
me too. For sure. Yeah. I hate to say it.
Well,
well, we're gonna have to do that shoot this year. And either way, you have family out in Michigan.
Yeah, my parents moved to Holland like 3 years ago.
Good.
You're not saying it nasally enough. Holland.
Yeah. Holland. Yeah, you're in Holland.
Yeah, love Michigan. I grew up in Indiana, so I never lived there. But
what part of Indiana were you from?
Grew up north of Indianapolis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Moved to Wisconsin.
Yeah, a little bit of an upgrade outdoors wise. Yeah,
I'm not a lot of my family's from Indiana, like kind of around the Gary, like the northwest Indiana area.
Sure.
I'll pass on Indiana.
I think anybody would say that about Gary.
Yeah, it's the armpit of America, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to get together for the shoot. When you're in with to see your parents, just swing by. We'll grab a beer and hang out.
That sounds fun, man. For sure.
And yeah, for everybody that's listening, and we've done this before with you, Isaac, but for people who are listening, you need to check out Vector Arrows. Like you guys, we've worked together for a while.
Sure.
And I'm not just saying that, like, I don't know. I truly believe that you guys have fantastic arrows. I
appreciate
We've used it a ton, shot a ton of animals with it.
Yep.
So where can people find out more, and follow this release of the Zoomer?
The Zoomer. Thanks for that. Vectorarrows.com. Yep. Got our second arrow coming, hopefully third by hunting season.
Awesome.
A third
arrow. Yep. That can be, and everything comes to your door ready to shoot. Thread in a field point and you're good to go. So
that's what I love about it.
Yeah. And we try to take all the guesswork out of it. So give you a really high performing arrow without asking you too technical of questions. So if you know your draw length, draw weight, and what weight broadhead you're going to use, then you can build a Vector arrow on the website and they'll come ready to go.
Giddy up.
So
hey,
cool.
man. Thank you, Isaac. Yeah, I always appreciate talking to you. We'll
likewise.
Thanks.
See ya.